Hello. Many of the friends that have been seeing the how things are going on with me, they've been showing their concern for my state of mind and for my well-being, and I cannot say anything about it because I don't even know how I am doing now. Um, I get one day of uh, good mood and 2 weeks of depression, which is just I can't stand the daylight. I sleep during the day and stay awake at night, and I write at night and watch movies. And when I wake up, I feel pain, and this goes for 2 weeks, and then I can have a day or two of a better mood, and then the desire to just stay in bed comes back. So I can't tell you that things are better for me now. Basically, any loss and any disappointment triggers my depression now. And especially when sorry, especially when I am verbally abused, and and especially even when I'm verbally abused in subtle ways, because now I have so much information about it. And a friend on YouTube, his YouTube name is Cri Cri Couscous. I don't know how to pronounce it in French. Thank you, because you showed me that I am an HSP. I'm a very highly sensitive person, and because of this sensitivity I can feel and notice very quickly when I am being abused. So I feel hurt very easily, and depression kicks in again. So that's it. That's how I am doing, if I am doing at all. Today was a particularly good day, and that's because this video is being made. Because yesterday my friends uh, was sad, despair, sadness and despair and pain and disappointment. Alright, now what I am going to say in this minutes to come, it is based on two books. First, toxic relationships, toxic people. I mentioned it before by Harriet Brecker. I don't remember the name now for some reason. And while reading that book, I was reading the part about learned helplessness, and she mentions another book called Learned Optimism by Seligman. And I don't remember the guy's name. I better do it. Just a moment. Um, Martin E.P. Seligman. And I read this book a month ago, and what I'm going to share here now is based on that book and what I learned from that book. So I thought it can be a good thing to say to you, so that many people can watch this if they've been abused, and they can watch it and realize that it doesn't come from nowhere. Besides coming from my intuition and our intuition, which we know it tells us what happened, but we just didn't listen to it. It also comes from hours and hours of reading, because I've been abused, and if we don't get this information, we'll feel pain. So the motivation to acquire this knowledge, in my case, was pain. So I read it, and I want to talk about what I learned, and not only what I learned, what I realized. Narc 2 in my life. After the addiction went away, uh, I started to think about many episodes of moments we talked on the internet, in person, and I realized how pessimistic she was. Narc 3 was my teacher, and many of the episodes that uh, happened to me when he hurt me, it was also a manifestation of a pessimistic mindset. My Narc 2, she was depressed. She had depression alongside her personality disorders. Uh, Always depressed. And I don't know if my Narc 3 teacher had depression, but the fact is he studied death, which is a pretty depressive subject to study, and he also studied violence. So it's a very suitable subject for someone who's got narcissistic personality disorder, don't you think? To study violence and death. Basically because that's what they do to everyone around them. So depression is linked, according to what I read. Depression has a very close relationship with learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is is uh, is a result of a pessimistic thinking, to put it simply. Because learned helplessness is a place where you feel you have no power to change anything in your life. So why keep trying? So you essentially you give up, because you're too pessimistic to say it's not gonna work. I did everything I could. Nothing I do has any effect on my life. So that's pessimism. And when Harriet Becker told me about it in her book, it was the essential message that Martin Seligman gives in his book, Learned Optimism. Because then I told myself, well, I learned to be helpless in my life story through my mother, because of the way she expressed her problems. And my mom is a good mom, but the way she expressed about her problems, for example, my father, your father will never change. That's a pessimistic statement. And I grew up hearing this, and then my teachers, especially my math teacher, she would say the same thing. So I learned to be pessimistic, and I read this in Martin Seligman's book, but Harriet Becker summarizes everything. She says the pessimistic thinking has three characteristics. One is when you think that the problems in your life are it comes from okay, let me remember. Okay, first, when you think that the problems in your life will never change, or your situation will never change, uh, and they give you a word for it, and is permanent. Okay, your problems or anything that bothers you is going to be permanent. When you think about this way, then that's a pessimistic thinking, and it was learned. Another thing, aside from being permanent, for example, you can think of your pain or your depression, or the pain that you feel because you lost your love, the narcissist. Permanent, so but that's pessimistic. And then the other thing is that the word they give is pervasive. Pervasive is when you think that this problem is going to affect all other areas of your life. That's also pessimistic. And personal, which is when we think that the problems that are happening to us right now, they have only one a guilty. They happened because of you are guilty. You did something wrong. So that's we take it personally and not circumstantial. Okay, it's not something that comes from outside of you. We tend to think that we caused all this mess. Now, if you think about the way the narcissist treated you and tried to convince you, that's exactly what he contaminated your brain with, isn't it? With pessimism. At least for me, that's at least what the narcissist made me believe. He made me believe that I was the cause of the problem because I hurt her. So she made me believe it is personal. She made me believe that this situation would never change, and that's why she discarded me. That's why she began the evaluation phase, and she thought it was pervasive, that my presence in her life could affect negatively all other areas of her life. For example, not only our love life, but her professional life. For example, once she thought I was taking advantage of her because I recorded her voice talking to another teacher. And so, and what I want us to realize now is that how pessimistic the narcissist is, and how he contaminates your thinking with pessimism, and how this is a big part of your state of depression after narcissistic abuse, and how it would be a good thing to be aware of this and try to uh, fight these thoughts. Another thing, I also want to give these examples of pessimism in my teacher. First, another one from Narc 2, the girl. Once she brought a book to one of our personal meetings, and she showed me the book from a guy named Amiel, an author. I don't know what the fuck he is about. But he showed me the book. She showed me the book, but strangely she said, "But this book is not for you yet. You are not in the level of understanding what this book is all about and what this author is about." What? What did you just say? Can you hear what you said? Just said that I'm not in your level to understand what this book is about? You think I cannot change? You think I cannot learn? You think I am stupid? And why did you bother bringing me this book? Just so you could feel superior to me? So the pessimism in the narcissist thinking is that things will never change, and that's the permanent thing of the pessimistic mindset. Okay? My teacher, he said, he recommended me some books to read about Brazilian literature. And he said, well, you can read this author, and you can read the other author. But that other author is not up to you. You are not there yet to understand that author. He's complicated, blah blah blah. What? This is absurd. It's completely absurd. So you're superior. You can understand, but I can't understand. Get the fuck away from me with this kind of talk, okay? And the other thing he said in on the day of the defense, when I was defending my thesis, he said, you made the whole program or the whole thing here lose. Basically what he said was, you made us lose our time. This is what was the main stabbing that hurt me, that threw me into depression. Okay, he said I made them lose time when I was the one who lost 4 years trying to please those assholes, those doctors, and no one would help me. So when he says you made us lose time, he was blaming me as if it was personal, as if this was caused by me. So this is all contamination with pessimistic thinking that I want you to be aware of. They keep teaching us learned helplessness and depression. The narcissist makes us depressed because of his mindset, his depressive and pessimistic mindset, while giving us the impression that he is a positive thinker, that he is optimistic. But that's a lie. And the last example that he did to me, I said, well, I got an ebook for free from a place here, an academic site on the internet, because I told them there was a problem in their site. And so they gave the ebook for free. And instead of being happy for me, he made this comment. He said, well, that was because you helped them make money, so they thought that they would give that ebook for you, so as a way of paying you to help them making more money. And he said this in a way with body language and with a face, with a tone of voice, and with a disdain that he basically made me feel bad about myself. he made me feel, basically the subtext of what he said was, um, you were a jerk, you are stupid. He managed to make me feel stupid, and for helping them make more money. And there was no merit in there. There was nothing happy to be seen in that situation. And he ruined all my happiness for having acquired that ebook for free. Alright, he ruined it, and he made me feel stupid. He called me, you are a stupid person for helping them making money, and there's nothing to be happy about. This episode. And later I thought to myself, why did I bother telling him this? Just because he could ruin it? Turns out I ended up not even using that ebook anyhow. But see, again, he blamed me as if I was the personal cause of being a jerk. Like, his message is, you were a jerk. So that's what the narcissist always does to us. Something personal. Now, the way to correct this pessimistic thinking taught by Harry Brecker, but it came from the study from Martin Seligman, is that this is a pessimistic way of thinking, is a distorted way of thinking. And the narcissist, first for being a sick mind, he sees everything distorted, and with the pessimism, even more distortion. Okay, it's not true when he says that it is personal, you are wrong, you are the cause of the problems in the relationship, you will never change, so that's a permanent state of things, and it's pervasive, it's going to affect everything in your life. Just because you messed up in a love relationship doesn't mean you're going to mess up in your work, and in other relationships, in other circumstances. Just because you made something wrong today doesn't mean you're going to make something wrong tomorrow, a month from now, 6 months from now. That's pessimism. But optimism teaches this. It is not pervasive. It is not going to affect all areas of your life. It is just circumstantial, I guess, if I remember well. It is just now. Though I guess I'm messing up things. I'm gonna have to revise it. Okay, to make things right now, the pessimistic, they say, explanatory style, that the style that you use to explain the bad events in your life. The pessimistic is permanent, something that will always be that way, pervasive across all areas in your life, and internal, which is caused by you, something inside you, and I used the word personal before. And the optimistic explanatory style, which is the style of explanation that will help you and I correct our distorted thinking, states that we have to use the explanation that it is not permanent but temporary, which is what I said. It is not always going to be this way. I can change. I am able to change. And things are able to change. And in contrary to pervasive, that it is a bad thing that will happen in all areas of our life, we can fight it with thinking that this is specific to the situation. So the bad event happened only in this situation right now. It doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. And to fight the idea that this is internal, that it was personal, caused by me, that I am an idiot, we cannot attribute the bad events to causes that are external. So you think about it. Temporary, of course, for us, victims of narcissistic abuse, this shit is going to be temporary because now we left our narcissists and this is not going to happen again. It is specific to the situation because the problems that we had happened when we were in the situation with a narcissist in our lives. And third, the causes of all the problems, as we know, are external. They don't come from us. They come from the narcissist's projections. And as I am teaching us now, they come from the narcissist's pessimism and depressive mindset and way of thinking. So, okay, the narcissist is wounded, he learned to be depressed, he learned to be pessimistic, that's his problem. That doesn't mean we have to be this way. But because we were in love, we had to, please him and try to think the same way he thought. We wanted his approval, and we ended up being contaminated with pessimism. And now we end up with depression, and we think things are never going to change. So this was a big revelation to me, that perhaps I am contaminated with the narcissist pessimism, and that I can read books like Learned Optimism and learn that I can unlearn this bad way of thinking. I can unlearn, because this pessimism doesn't come from us. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? Okay, so if we are in depression now, if you are in PTSD, if you're just being discarded or still feeling the effects of the rejections, use the optimistic explanatory styles. If you can read the chapter on learned helplessness in Lethal Lovers and Poisonous People by Harriet Brecker, or you can buy the book by Seligman, which is Learned Optimism, and you can fight the bad thoughts with the optimistic ones. And the reason I'm telling you this is that when you think using the optimistic explanatory styles, immediately you start to feel better. I experienced this laying down in my bed and reading the book, especially when I read the part about the circumstance. It is when the part when I read that it is not going to be permanent, it's just attached to this circumstance. So it is temporary. My problems are temporary, and that took a lot of weight from me, and from the pain I felt no pain in that moment. So optimism is not silly. Optimism makes you feel better without using medication. I'm telling you this. I felt it. And when I realized that things can be just temporary, I felt energy to go and take a shower and to go and do something else. I said, well, this is going to be temporary. That's very good. That makes me happy. And I had a friend who committed suicide in America. His name was Ryan. He came to Brazil. We met. He was a musician. We ended up playing. He was from I guess he was living in Boston, but I think he was from Somerville, MA, Massachusetts. And because he was betrayed by a lover, he committed suicide. And his sister said, well, he found a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it sounded beautiful, okay, it's a beautiful play with words, but when you see studies from people like Martin Seligman telling you that problems can be temporary and not permanent, it makes you think, and it takes away a lot of weight, a lot of sadness and pain from our depressive mindsets. Thank you for your time. I hope this could be helpful.